Hi, boys and girls. Miss Lehmann here for some more of our book, Dexter the Tough. Chapter 17. I am not going to talk to the principal, Dexter snapped. Robin was bugging him again at recess. He'd found Dexter's hiding place in the bushes and crawled in behind him. But see, Robin said, pushing leaves out of his face, my mom says she has a lot of respect for Mr. Wiseman, and she says she can't imagine him being mean to a new student on purpose for no reason, so it must just be a misunderstanding, and he'll apologize, just like Miss Chandler did, and you'll feel better. Wait a minute, Dexter said, jerking upright so fast that he bumped his head on a branch. You told your mom the principal was mean to me? Yes, Robin said slowly. Why'd you go and do a stupid thing like that? Robin backed up a little. Because I thought she could help, he said, and I didn't know what else to do. And my mom always helps me. Dexter glared at him. You were such a baby, he said, and don't you know by the time you're in 4th grade you shouldn't have to go running to Mommy for every little thing? Robin glared back, or tried to. His eyes were starting to look a little too watery to hold a good glare. This isn't a little thing, he said in a choked voice. If a principal's mean to kids, that's wrong. My mom says sometimes principals even get fired for things like that. And if he was really, really nasty, maybe you should even file a complaint with the school board so he can be kicked out so he's not mean to anyone else. It's like when we put criminals in jail so they can't hurt anyone else. Dexter pulled a branch down a little so it hid his face. Mr. Wiseman wasn't that mean, he said. Finally, he didn't do anything he should get fired for. What did he do? Robin asked. Dexter stayed quiet. He kind of hoped that if he stayed quiet long enough, Robin would get bored and wander off. But he peeked out of the leaves and Robin was still there. Dexter mumbled. What? Robin demanded. He asked me where my parents were. Dexter was whispering now. He hoped Robin hadn't heard him. But then Robin said, That's it? That's all he did? Dexter shrugged. Did he say it in a really mean way, like... Robin hunched up his shoulders and made his voice deep and scary sounding. Where are your parents, young man? That's right, I'm talking to you. Where are your parents? No, Dexter admitted. He didn't say it like that. Then how was he mean? Dexter closed his eyes, and it was like he was back in the school office that first day. He was standing in front of the counter, barely able to see over. Hello? He said, but none of the adults behind the counter heard him. He saw the secretary make a bad face and clutch her stomach for a minute. Then the phone rang, and she answered it. Oh, Ethan and Emma are both sick today? What a shame. Yes, there's a lot of that going around. I'm invisible, Dexter thought. I could stand here for hours and nobody would notice. Nobody would care. Then a deep voice had boomed overhead. You don't need a pass to get into class, the voice said. The first bell hasn't rung yet. Just go on to your classroom and you'll be fine. Dexter looked up at the biggest man he'd ever seen in his life. The man was leaning down toward Dexter like a giant in a fairy tale. A name tag dangled from a string around the man's neck. Jonathan Wiseman, principal. I'm new, Dexter said. I don't know where my classroom is. Oh. The principal looked around, a puzzled squint on his face. Where are your parents? They need to come register you. After that, Dexter's memory got fuzzy. It seemed like he stood there for hours, his face burning, his eyes prickling, his ears ringing with those words. Where are your parents? Those words made him feel like an orphan. They made him feel like a kid that nobody loved. But maybe it was only a few minutes before the secretary walked over and said, Oh, this is Dexter Jackson. His grandmother stopped in to register him last week. Her work schedule prevented her from coming in this morning, and she wanted to make sure, blah, 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 blah. The only words that mattered were the cruel ones. Where are your parents? Now, he told Robin stiffly, you wouldn't understand. But then, do you want to go talk to the secretary? Remember, Mr. Chandler said she makes really good chocolate chip cookies, and no! Do you want to go help Mr. Chandler test out the new floor wax? Robin, this is so stupid. Just leave me alone. Just go away, okay? Dexter's voice sounded every bit as mean as the pretend principal voice Robin had imitated. On the other side of the branch, Robin's face was getting blurry. Dexter pulled the branch down all the way in front of him so it hid him completely. When he looked out again, Robin was gone. Chapter 18. Dear Miss Abbott, you know how you said I should do something else, not write about a fight? And I said I wanted to write about a fight? I changed my mind. I don't want to write about a fight anymore. I'll write about anything you want me to write about. Just not that fight. Sincerely, Dexter Jackson. Dexter clutched his paper as he walked to Miss Abbott's desk. He hoped she'd count a letter as his next writing assignment. But Miss Abbott's eyes narrowed as she read the letter. She tapped her finger on her chin. Dexter, she said gently, why did you change your mind? I don't know, Dexter said. I just did. Miss Abbott raised one eyebrow. We have a problem then, she said, because I changed my mind too. You did? Dexter said. Suddenly he had a sinking feeling in the pit of his stomach. Yes, Miss Abbott said. Now I think you need to write about that fight. That wasn't fair. Teachers weren't supposed to change their minds. They were supposed to know everything. They were supposed to make a decision and stick with it. Why? Dexter asked. Miss Abbott toyed with one strand of her hair. She wrapped it around her finger, then let it spring free. I have a theory, she said. What? Dexter blurted out. I think this fight really happened, Miss Abbott said. And what you've written? She ruffled the papers in Dexter's file. I think it's all true, except for the part where you said the fight didn't matter. That did it. Now the pit of Dexter's stomach felt like it had sunk all the way down to his tennis shoes. But I said it wasn't true, Dexter protested. Robin told you it never happened. She gave him a strange look. Oops. Now she'd know he eavesdropped. I admit, I'm a little confused, she said. Why would both of you lie? And if you beat Robin up, why wouldn't Robin's teacher say that he seems to be Why would Robin's teacher say that he seems to be adjusting so much better and seems so much happier since the two of you started playing together? Great. Now Robin's teacher knew about the fight, too. We don't play, Dexter said. See, I just had a lot of bad things happen to me that first day. And I'm sorry to hear about that, Miss Abbott said. Dexter shrugged. It doesn't matter now, he said, but Robin wants to hunt down everyone who's mean to me. He thinks everybody's really nice and they're going to apologize or something. Miss Abbott smiled. He sounds like a good friend, she said. He's not my friend, Dexter protested. I beat him up, okay? Miss Abbott just looked at him. Now she had both eyebrows raised. Dexter realized what he'd done. You tricked me, he complained. You made me confess. Miss Abbott smoothed out his paper. You confessed in writing a long time ago, she said, and nobody made you do that. Dexter slumped in his chair. He remembered how he'd felt that first day, pressing his pencil down on the paper, spelling out, I am tough. It was like he'd been some entirely other person. It felt like I had to, Dexter said, like I'd explode if I didn't get the words out. I'm glad you didn't explode, Miss Abbott said gently, and I'm glad you didn't turn out to be the kind of kid who gets into lots of fights all the time. That first day, I didn't know that your dad was sick or that your mother was away with him. I didn't know why you were staying with your grandmother. You've certainly had a lot to deal with, haven't you? Miss Abbott didn't even know about the principal being mean and the secretary abandoning him and the kids laughing about him. She didn't know all the reason he'd been so mad he had to hit Robin. Except it turned out that none of those things were as bad as he thought. And anyhow, none of them were Robin's fault. Dexter stared down at his paper. His face felt like it was burning up again. I'm kind of surprised that you didn't want to write about your family situation, Miss Abbott said. Sometimes writing like that can be very therapeutic. Dexter's face got hotter. She didn't understand. Some things he would never write about. Some words and feelings were stuck deep, deep inside him. Dexter, Miss Abbott said, do you think there's a connection between what was going on in your family and the fight you had with Robin? Dexter thought about his father lying in his hospital bed, not moving. He thought about his hand hitting Robin's face. He shook his head. Sometimes bad things happen to good people, he said. This was something his mom had told him when his dad first got sick. Sometimes lots of bad things happen. He thought about how he'd felt that first day with his father sick, his mother gone, his grandmother unable to get off work to bring him to school. When the secretary left him and the big kids laughed at him, he felt like he was caught in an avalanche of bad things. He swallowed hard and kept talking. The bad things that happened to me, they just happened, he said. They weren't my fault, but me hitting Robin, I did that. I was the bad one. The words on his paper swarmed before his eyes. He waited for Miss Abbott to tell him what his punishment was. Maybe he'd have to go to the principal's office. Maybe he'd get kicked out of school. Probably she'd have to call Grandma and Mom and Dad. That would be the worst thing of all. But then he felt Miss Abbott patting his back. Maybe I'm missing something, Miss Abbott said, but it seems like Robin's forgiven you. She really didn't understand. That just made it worse, the fact that Robin was so nice to him. The question is, Miss Abbott added, what do you have to do to forgive yourself? Dexter kept his head down, but he dared to peek over sideways at Miss Abbott. Aren't you going to punish me? He asked. No, Miss Abbott said, but she gathered up Dexter's papers and slipped them into his hands. Keep writing about the fight. I hope you enjoyed this part of Dexter the Tough. I wonder how this story is going to end. We really only have that much more, chapters 19 and 20, so one more day, and we still don't have all the answers. I'm really hoping those last few chapters will tell us what did happen in that bathroom. Have a nice afternoon.